Look at the headlines these days and you notice something. A lot of people seem worried about one thing: China. We are constantly hearing warnings about rising tensions, military competition, and the possibility of conflict between major powers. But if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, something interesting stands out. The country that many people are most worried about hasn't fought a cross-border war in almost 30 years. So why is there so much fear? Well, according to diplomat Kishore Mahbubani, the answer may have less to do with military actions and more to do with human psychology. Take a look.
That China needs to understand in a very deep way that its rise, its rapid rise, has created concerns all over the world, not just in America. Even in its own neighborhood, in Southeast Asia, where I come from, there is a lot of concern. And it's a natural concern. Imagine we are all in this room together right now. There's a tiny little mouse in that corner. And suddenly, while you're sitting in the room, that mouse becomes an elephant. In the same room, surely you'll be concerned, right? That's how all the neighbors of China feel. And it's perfectly natural. And the Chinese are sometimes puzzled by that. They said, we haven't done anything to you. We haven't sent an army to invade you. We haven't taken things away from you. We haven't done what Teddy Roosevelt did in 1897. Why? Why are you so worried about us? Well, size. And China, of course, and this is not a secret, has made some mistakes. It has become rather assertive in its foreign policies. But at the same time, I add a qualification. It has become assertive, but not aggressive. And this is one thing that future historians, again, will compare and look back. Let's say that in the 28 years since the Cold War ended, China has not bombed one country. Not one. How many countries has America bombed? Now, behavior matters. So, if we want to ensure that China continues to not bomb countries, you have to create, again, the logic for that not happening. But I think we can persuade the Chinese that because you've become so big, everything you do has a mega effect. So please be more careful in what you do. And my sense is that the Chinese are beginning to understand that they have to be more careful in how they handle the rest of the world because they can feel the blowback that's coming.
Mahbubani uses a simple analogy: a mouse and an elephant. And honestly, that analogy explains a lot. Think about how much China has changed over the past few decades. Back in 2000, the American economy was roughly 8 times bigger than China's. Fast forward about 15 years, and suddenly that gap shrinks dramatically. That's an enormous change in a very short period of time. And here's the thing about human beings: we are not always comfortable with rapid change. Imagine you're sitting in a room with a mouse. No problem, right? The mouse is tiny, you don't feel threatened, you feel completely in control. But now imagine that same mouse starts growing and growing and growing until it's the size of an elephant. Now, even if the elephant isn't doing anything aggressive, you are going to feel very differently about being in that room. And why is that? Because the balance has changed. Suddenly, you're no longer the biggest thing in the room. And once that happens, every movement feels more significant. Every action gets watched more carefully. That's basically what we are seeing in today's world. For many countries, including some of China's neighbors and even the US, the concern isn't always about what China is doing right now. It's about how big China has become. And that's where this story gets really interesting. Because if you ask people in Beijing, many of them see the situation very differently. From their perspective, China's rise has actually been relatively restrained compared to how other great powers behaved when they became powerful. And when you look at history, you can see why they make that statement. Take the United States. As America became an industrial giant in the late 1800s, it didn't simply stay focused on just domestic development. The country fought the Spanish-American War, gained territories such as Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, and expanded its influence throughout the Western Hemisphere. You can see similar patterns with other major powers throughout history. Britain built a vast empire that stretched across the globe. The Soviet Union expanded its influence across Eastern Europe. Historically, rising powers often expanded their reach through military strength. So from China's point of view, the question is simple. If we are mainly focused on trade, infrastructure, and economic development, why are so many countries still nervous? But this is where Mahbubani's elephant analogy becomes important. Because once you are an elephant, people don't judge you the same way anymore. Everything you do looks bigger. Everything you do attracts much more attention. And even actions that seem normal to you can appear threatening to others. Take the South China Sea as an example. Several countries in the region made claims over small reefs and islands, often to protect fishing rights or support territorial claims. For years, these disputes remained relatively limited. But when China became involved, things looked very different. Because China has enormous resources and construction capabilities, some reefs were transformed into large artificial islands with ports, airstrips, and other infrastructure. From Beijing's perspective, they may see this as protecting their interests. But from the perspective of smaller countries, it can feel overwhelming. That's the challenge of being the biggest player in the room. Your actions don't judge only by your intention. They get judged by your size. And that may be the biggest misunderstanding in today's geopolitical competition. China often believes people should focus on what it intends to do. Others focus on what China is capable of doing. Those are two very different ways of looking at the same situation. And that's why tensions continue to grow. At the end of the day, what Mahbubani is really talking about isn't just geopolitics, it's human nature. One side is learning how to live with the reality that another major power has emerged. The other side is learning that once you're big enough, even ordinary actions can make people uncomfortable. That elephant isn't going anywhere, and the room isn't getting any bigger. So the real question is this: can both sides learn to live with this new reality before fear and misunderstanding push them into a conflict that nobody actually wants? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are we heading toward inevitable confrontation? Or do you think peaceful coexistence is still possible? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and more importantly, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching.